for joining us, everyone. I'm Tracey Moynihan-Rosa, and we have a really great program for you today. We're calling it the Teen Court Special. You can't open the newspaper and you can't go on the news without listening or hearing about some major teen issues. And a lot of you parents may be asking yourselves, how bad is it in our community? What are kids talking about and what are they facing? Things like teen bullying, peer pressure, Facebook, and tweeting. Well, today we're going to get the answers. We're going to talk to some of the kids in the community, kids from middle school and high school, and we're going to ask them, what do they face? So joining me right now, I want to introduce everybody. We're going to go down the line here. If you girls and guys just want to give me your names and where you go to school and what grade you're in, and then we're going to get going on some really soft and hard topics, okay? Kendall, go ahead and give me your name, sweetie.
My name is Kendall Mackey. I go to King Middle School, and I'm in 8th grade.
Okay.
My name is Costanzo. I go to Lakewood Ranch High School, and I'm in 9th grade.
My name is Anthony Scott, and I go to Manatee High School, and I'm in 11th grade.
My name is Scarlett O'Hara, and I go to Nolan Middle School, and I'm in 7th grade.
Kieran Grumley, I'm an 8th grader at King Middle School.
All right, there's going to be a test on that later. I'm just kidding. I hope you guys all know each other. We'll loosen up a little bit because we're going to talk about some really fun and interesting topics. Allie, I want to start with you first. Let's talk to me about what kids are facing, what serious issues kids are facing in your high school now.
Definitely peer pressure as to doing, drugs and stealing and wanting to fit in with the crowd. It's definitely a major issue.
Have you seen a difference from going from middle school into high school?
Yes, and when a person goes from elementary school to middle school, I experienced that there's a bigger change of wanting to fit in. And once you get to high school, you're kind of figuring out who you are and who you want to be around.
Anthony, talk to me. Do you see the same thing at Manatee, or what are some different issues that you see?
I think at Manatee, the main focus is to be in the kind of the spotlight. Having the football team be kind of nationally ranked, everyone wants to be someone, wants to be known, and I think that's a big problem. People trying to be not themselves, just trying to get in the spotlight. I think that's a big thing.
Can you give me some examples from that? I mean, I know that I went to Manatee High School. I know that it's a very popular school and there's a lot of pressure to be number one, but can you give me some examples of maybe people not being themselves?
I know maybe sometimes some kids join student council that really aren't into it. They just do it for maybe the college transcript. Just when they go to college, it's like, oh, you went to Manatee High School and you were in student council, but you really weren't involved in that at school. Or maybe people are joining sports for the wrong reasons. Those kind of things.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit, Kendall. What do you see at King that's troubling?
Well, it's mostly the same things, like kids trying to be people who they aren't, just try to fit in. Just to try to fit in.
What advice would you give to them?
That it's not worth it to be someone that you're not, and you're going to have to find yourself at some time, and might as well just do it early.
I would like to add something
Sure,
to that,
please do.
Kendall. Advice that I would give to someone is it doesn't matter when you're 20 or 30 who you hang out with in high school. It really doesn't. You should find yourself at an earlier time so you can figure out what you want to do with your life.
Karen, talk to me. Do you see the same things at King? I know that you and Kendall go to the same school, but is it different being a boy?
No, you see most of the same things. People trying to be different people because they don't feel they're cool enough to fit in with their crowd. I think most people, though, that I'm around do try to be themselves. I think we've realized that it's not worth it to be someone else.
Okay, Scarlett, what do you see at Nolan?
Well, there's a lot of the same things. I think it's really the same thing everywhere. People trying to fit in from what kind of clothes they wear to how they act.
Right.
Always trying to find something to do that gets them involved with other people that may make them seem cooler.
We talked a little bit beforehand about bullying. So I hear you talking about kids not acting like themselves. And is bullying as big of an issue as we read about in school, Anthony?
I think you read about more of the severe cases that have been going on. But I think some of the small stuff that happens, I don't feel that it's a big problem person to person now. I think it's the online bullying, the Facebook bullying, the tweet bullying, those kinds of anonymous posts, those kind of bullying that's going on, more that we hear that now.
Kendall, do you see bullying in middle school?
I do. It's not severe bullying. It's mostly offhand remarks, passing someone in the hallway and saying something.
Like, for example, like what? What would be an example of bullying?
Well, there's a girl at our school, and people don't generally like her because she's too smart. So they'll pass her, and they'll just say, "What'd you get on that test? Another 105?" And she'll just you can tell that it really hurts her.
Right. Just for the record, there are worse things than being brilliant. It's interesting to hear how times have changed, and you have small bullying or things that you don't call severe bullying, but obviously it affects them. You can say that you just see it in her demeanor when she walks by and somebody says something negative, the way that it affects her. We talk about cyberbullying. It is relatively new to most people. Allie, tell me a little bit about, we were talking about bullying when it comes to Facebooking, how it actually can lead to physical bullying.
Yes.
So what are you seeing?
I'm seeing when you're getting bullied on Facebook, like, you know, some kids, they might really take it to heart and they might be really hurt, or some kids might just brush it off, and then if you brush it off, the bully's not getting the attention that they want. And I guess sometimes it's advised to brush it off, but if you do brush it off all the time, then it might lead to where they want to take it farther and they want to see how far they can push you until they get a result.
Do you find, too, that by posting or tweeting, there was that situation where the kids had a fight and then put it on Facebook. It made national headlines here in town. Do you feel that that's an incentive for people, that you find that people are doing that more just to get that type of attention, even though it's negative?
Yeah, I think some people do it for attention. When they say, oh, we beat up this kid because he's weird, let's put it on Facebook to seem cool. I think that's a big part of why people do it.
We have seen and read a lot about inappropriate posts when it comes to Facebooking and tweeting, and I keep going back to this cyber world because it sounds like that seems to be the major issue these days, is kids kind of getting a little out of control. Do you think that kids understand the dangers of putting inappropriate comments or inappropriate pictures on Facebook? Scarlett?
I think a lot of the time it's like, oh, I've read this or I heard that this happened to this one person, but it's not going to happen to me. That's what they said. It's not going to happen to me, or, oh, it doesn't really matter because what I'm saying to this person, I'm never going to really meet them in real life. So.
Well, I think also you can add that you look at our generation. This is the first generation that has had the ability to do this. Back then, when our parents were kids, they did everything face to face. They took it. They had to take up the courage and the bravery to say something to the face. But now, our generation, we can do it over a computer. We can hide behind our screens and say these things, post these things that normally maybe we wouldn't say in face to face in reality.
And what do you think the effect of that is?
I think sometimes it can definitely come back to haunt you. I know I've sent some stuff over text messages that I was like, I wouldn't really say that in person. I shouldn't be saying it over the phone. I think it can definitely hurt you because we don't have the kind of wisdom that maybe our parents have had when they say stuff to other people. We haven't had the repercussions just yet. To realize.
I think it's an important lesson that you learn, because obviously we can talk to her blue in the face and say, hey, don't say anything in a tweet or on Facebook that you wouldn't say to somebody in person, but until you do that firsthand, it's really hard to learn that lesson. Kieran, talk to me about that issue. Have you found yourself in that situation, or do you know of any friends that have thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, that could have really hurt somebody's feelings, or it really wasn't appropriate? Because that's going to stay with you forever.
Yeah, it does. I think everybody has, to some extent, felt someone bullying them over text messages or Facebook, or bullied somebody. And at the time, you don't feel like it's a big deal. You feel like it's just a joke. They're going to think it's funny, but no one ever does. It can come back and be 10 times worse than you intended, and it can really, ruin people's lives.
Yeah, I think that's something to remember. It's very important. There's a common bond that brings most of you together, and it is a thing called teen court. And I want Allie to kind of explain to us what teen court is and its role in the community, if you could.
Teen court is where teenagers under 18, first offenders, and they commit a crime, they have to plead guilty to be able to go to teen court. And it's where you have teenagers like all of us actually prosecute and defend them. And then you have like either a real judge or an attorney, a working attorney in Manatee County as the judge in the court.
And Kendall, you're an attorney, right, for teen court? So what are some of the crimes that you have seen recently?
I've seen a lot of retail thefts, just like little things where they walk in and they steal a bag of candy. I've seen kids get caught for marijuana possession, for paraphernalia possession, battery, affray, which is fighting at school. Those are mostly what the cases that we deal with.
And Scarlett, you're also an attorney. tell me what are some of the ramifications of these? What are some of the jury, the peers? What have they sentenced these kids to?
Well, they have to give them a certain number of community hours, and they also have to give them a certain number of times where they come back and sit in that jury and find sentence for someone else. But there's also, there's a part where they can be like kind of creative, and they can say, like, if someone stole from a certain store, you have to write a one-page letter of apology to that store. Or, and a lot of times they'll have you get up in front of court right there in front of everyone and turn to the parent who brought you and give a verbal apology, saying more than I'm sorry, but actually saying why you're sorry. And I know people who think that saying that you're sorry to your parents is better than writing an apology letter, because it's different. Anyone can write a letter saying I'm sorry, but to actually go up to that person face to face and say why you were wrong.
Anthony, do you see the same situations in teen court as you do in your school? Or do you see kind of the worst of the worst in the teen court situation?
I think I see the worst of the teen court situation. But I know some of those, of course, some of the teens are coming from the school. But I definitely, you see more what's happening when you see in teen court than
What
when you're
shocks
at
you the
school.
most when you're in there and you got kids that are the same age as you and the choices that they make? What makes you step back and say, what were they thinking?
I think theft. That's a little pushy. I mean, when you're at this age, it's in this economy, it's a little hard to get a job. But everyone's looking to help out that teenager or that teenager who needs a job, who's trying to get money. And really, all these thefts aren't big dollars. They're shirts, or they're a little thing of earrings, especially things that you don't need. When you look at this economy, you don't need this or don't need that. You shouldn't be trying to steal things either.
Allie, you're an attorney too, and we were talking earlier that when you would talk to your clients, a lot of times they would say, well, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. I mean, tell me about the conversations you have with them and how realistically they don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Well, honestly, I believe that in teen court, kids might leave out some parts of what they're thinking, especially because, they're in that situation. But I think that at the time that these teens are doing it, they don't think of the repercussions that can happen. But also, a lot of the kids really don't care what happens to them. They honestly will take it, and they don't care what will happen.
What advice do you give kids? What do you say to them, Karen? What do you say to kids who are making dumb choices and putting things on the internet, or stealing a pair of 99-cent earrings? I mean, what do you say?
I definitely tell them to think about their actions before they're choosing what they want to do. Unlike, sorry, what's your name?
Anthony,
sorry. Like Anthony said, they don't necessarily need these things that they're stealing, and they don't need to be posting the things that they feel they want to post. Our economy is bad, but it's not bad enough where people need to be committing crimes to survive. So I'd tell them to think things over before they choose to steal or post things that are probably inappropriate.
Okay. I want to talk about peer pressure. We've touched a little bit about bullying, and you guys were saying early on that you felt a lot of times kids will, I hate to use the word front, but I assume that that's a proper terminology of just pretending like you're something that you're not. But do you find a lot of peer pressure talk to me, Allie, do you feel peer pressure at all in school, or?
I definitely feel peer pressure. It may be for a little thing, like maybe your friend wants you to wear this instead of that, even though what you like is different. And there's also peer pressure to steal or hang out with the cool crowd and to do drugs, which I definitely don't let that affect me at all, because I know what I want in life, and I know that that's definitely not going to help me.
I think you're a strong young woman, and I just wonder how you sit down with somebody who's maybe not as strong as you, and how you tell them it's okay to say no without using that cliche, like it's okay to say no, but how do you really tell them, you make the good choice, you don't have to do that kind of stuff. What do you think, Scarlett?
Well, you definitely have to make sure that you tell them that it doesn't really matter what other people think. Like, I know they think, oh, that's what everyone says, but it really is true. And I think a lot of times when kids are being peer pressured, they don't really notice it. like someone will say, oh, why don't you do this? And you'll go and you'll do it, and you don't really even realize that it's what's happening is peer pressure. You just think you're doing something, like, if they tell you to do it, you'll want to do it. And someone thinks peer pressure is doing something you don't want to, and in some of the more severe cases it is. But a lot of times people will want to do it because someone else is doing it, and they don't realize that that's also peer pressure.
Kendall, you're an attorney. You obviously defend and prosecute people. Do you find yourself defending people at King?
I do, and it's a bizarre situation because people will walk in and I'll know them. And they seem like these perfectly, fine people, they're good students, and then they come in and they've done these crimes. And teen court is almost a picture of what the real world's like, because everyone has little things that they're hiding.
Absolutely.
I would like to add something to Kendall's. Like over summer, when I started doing teen court, unless the crime happens at school, it doesn't say what school that they go to. And me moving from 8th grade to 9th grade, I didn't know the kids at Lakewood Ranch.
Right.
And like walking in the first day and seeing someone that you prosecuted, it's scary. And you're just like, oh my goodness, I prosecuted them at teen court.
Right. What about just even in the hallways? Do you find, like, if you see someone kind of being a punk or a jerk, do you find yourself like, hey, lay off, or do you ever get involved in that way?
In the hallways, I really don't see a lot of that stuff, mostly because the classes that I'm in, they're all in the same wing. So the kids in the classes are all, good students, they do the right thing. So most of them are just running to their next class because they don't want to be late.
They've got tunnel vision, they're ready to go. How about you, Anthony?
No, I don't think I've ever really seen any of that going on, but I think it also deals with who you hang out, and especially with your classes, what you take. And I feel that we're all obviously really involved in our community. I believe we all take some honors classes, and you're involved with better kids who are more involved, and you don't really see that stuff happening because you're going to your class or you're with your friends that are more involved, that are maybe better students than the others.
So what do you say to kids? I mean, in teen court or peers, who do you trust? Where do you go to find help, Karen?
To find help, I'd definitely go to parents or teachers. And talking about who I would trust would be the kids in the classes I taking advanced and honors classes. I'm definitely in a good environment. I'm not putting myself into situations where peer pressure is a big issue or where I'm afraid I'm going to get beat up in the hallway. So I definitely trust the people that I work with in classes.
Okay, how about you, Scarlett?
Well, I don't see that much of bullying, like that severe, like someone hitting each other, like friends like smacking each other on the head, be like, hey, or whatever. But other than that, I don't really see that much bullying. But a big issue is like some of the kids don't get the fact that a guy and a girl can be good friends. And so that a lot of the things I see are, oh, hey, are you guys going out, or do you like this person? And then they're just like, no, I've told you before. And I see them, and I'm just like, what's that person thinking? They just don't know what's going on. So, and then sometimes later, like if I know the person well enough, I'll go to them, I'll be like, just don't listen to them, because they say that to everyone, so.
Right. Allie, what do you think we're missing? What do you think, do you think that parents are naive? Do you think that teachers are naive? Not by calling anybody out or anything, but do you think that, you guys are telling me that the physical bullying is not a huge issue. I thought, unfortunately, that there'd be kids throwing elbows or throwing punches daily. That's good to hear that it's not. I think it's on a different level now, but what do parents need to know?
I think that parents are definitely set in the time of their childhood. They remember bullying from their childhood and when kids would throw punches in the schoolyard. And they don't understand that now the bullying is so much more anonymous. Like they had this site, formspring.me, I think that's what it was, and it was basically a free website to bully someone anonymously. That was all it was. It was so you could bully someone.
So, Kendall, what do parents do? I mean, it sounds like the bullying now is more emotional than it is physical. It's messing with your mind. So what do we do? What do we do? How do we make it easier for kids, or how do you make it easier for your friends? What's a solution?
I think parents, it would be really difficult to make it easier for the kids. The advice I would give is just talk to them, because it's emotional bullying. That's really the kind of stuff that you can do that would really help.
Anthony, I'm your mom. I sit you down, and I'm like, Anthony, don't write bad things and don't put a bad picture on. And you're like, okay, Mom, you
Sounds
didn't
like
even
my mom.
you didn't even have a computer back in the day. You know, I know how it is. So what do you do?
I definitely think talking to your parents about it. It's not like they're gonna go out and tell all your friends, hey, I talked to Anthony and he's really emotional about this and that and posting this. Like, your parents aren't gonna do that to you. They're not gonna say that. So I think definitely talking to your parents is the best and the most secure way to talk about if you're being bullied or if you've if you have bullied anyone. I think that's a good way to talk about it.
What about resources at school, Scarlett? Do you know of any? Do you feel comfortable going to your guidance counselors, your principal?
Well, I think a lot of times someone doesn't want to say anything is because like they'll think, well, I'm the only one they're doing it to, when really, in reality, the person's doing it to everyone. But they'll say, and if I say this, they'll know it. But there are ways that someone will know. But because like there's office, like people who can volunteer and work in the office and see that person coming in or whatever. But also I think a reason they don't want to is they just don't feel comfortable talking to like a lot of times they don't see the guidance counselor or whoever there is to go to. They don't see them that often, so they don't really trust them. And I think a lot of times the kids will want their parents not to know what's happening just because they don't want them to make a huge deal out of it. Like, because this is something that happens to everyone, and a parent will know if someone says, this is happening to my child, they'll make a bigger deal than if it was happening to someone else's
Anthony,
child.
you're shaking your head. You're like, oh,
I've gone through the same thing. I feel sometimes it's really hard to go up to your principal or your assistant principal when you're at a school of hundreds of kids to feel secure to be able to talk to them about it, to talk about your personal experiences or what has happened.
Is there pressure not to be a tattletale? I don't even know if you use that term anymore, but is there pressure not to, don't
Yeah, I
go
mean,
to-
you hear the saying, snitches get stitches. So there's always the threat that if something really bad has happened and you try to tell someone and someone thinks that you've leaked, that they might come after you. So that's a little bit of fear. But
Right.
I think you have to be pretty involved in something really serious for that to ever happen.
To add on to the guidance counselor thing, I think that a major rule is that kids feel that they're going to be judged if they go. Like, if you go to your guidance counselor, you don't know your guidance counselor. You don't hang out with your guidance counselor on the weekend. So you might feel like they might judge you or see it differently. So that's why kids usually go to their friends when they're feeling bullied.
It might be good to get a group of friends and then all go in. I'm just trying to think if kids don't have resources to go home to, where do they go? You know, you've got these kids in teen court. Allie, you were saying a lot of them don't have a moral compass. You know, they go in and not a lot of them, but some of them don't have a moral compass, and they go in and they don't think stealing's wrong. And you're, Brian, you're thinking, well, of course it is, and that's because you were raised knowing that this is wrong. So, I'm trying to provide resources for some of these kids who may not feel comfortable going to mom or dad. So, does anybody have any advice?
I think a really good friend to talk to. I know that's a really good way to talk to about, like, whether you've done something or think something is wrong or not sure. Because for them to be a really good friend, you must trust them. And if they're interested in the same things you are, you're obviously with them a lot. Right. So you know how they're going to react, and you know that they're not going to judge you. So I think that's an excellent way to talk about things, is with a really good friend.
All right. We have talked about a lot of issues, but I want to give you guys each an opportunity to take a second, think about something that is very important, a major issue that you think kids face today. Tell me about that, tell me why, and tell me your best advice for those kids. I know it's a lot of pressure for you. Take a second to think about it. Karen, let's go ahead and start with you. What do you think is a major issue that is facing kids now, and a message you would like to give to those kids?
I think a major issue would probably be peer pressure. That's something I can see happening to people at school. And I'd say that it doesn't matter what everybody thinks. In the end, it's your life, it's your decision, and you can change the people you hang out with. If two people don't see eye to eye, one person can go walk away and find someone else. If you're with a group of people and they don't like the sweater you're wearing, you can go to a different group of people, and they might see things differently.
Mm-hmm. Good job, thanks.
Thank you.
Scarlett, what do you think?
I also think gossip is a big issue because, like, they don't, and a lot of times people don't even know that it's an issue. Because I will see people, like, I'll think they're pretty good friends, but then they come to me and they start talking about someone, and I'm saying, well, okay, and I'm listening, but then I start thinking, is this how they treat me behind my back? I thought they were good friends with them. I think they're great friends with me, but I don't know what they're saying to other people.
Right.
So it's definitely something that you need.
If you don't have
to,
anything nice to say, don't say it at all, right?
Right.
Is that pretty much?
Choose your friends wisely. A lot of people, like what we were saying before, you don't really have anyone else to go to but your
Right.
friends. So I think when something's going badly, kids are a little too. They trust a little bit too easily because they think, okay, well this person's been my friend for an entire 2 months. They're amazing, and I can tell them anything.
And sometimes you can't trust them.
Right.
Right. All right, Anthony, what do you think?
I think even more so marijuana and the peer pressure to smoke it. Now that some states are legalizing it, and we've done some research for medical uses that in some cases it is beneficial. So some kids may think, well, it's okay for medical use, why can't we smoke it? So I think that's a really big topic that we're all talking about. The whole nation is talking about right now. So I think that's something that we discuss a lot, and the legalization and the pros and cons of it being used.
Right. Good job. Allie, what do you think?
I think that children growing up too fast is a major issue in our community, because I remember when I was like in elementary school, and I would love my pink little backpack and pink little lunchbox, and then I'm looking at elementary schoolers now, and they're wearing the same things that I do, doing the same things that I do, and I'm in high school. And I think that parents should definitely be watching out for their children trying to grow up too fast, because you should really cherish your childhood.
Perfect. Good job. How about you, Kendall?
I think a really big issue is cyberbullying. And the advice that I would give is that, go and talk to the person. Odds are they won't treat you like they make it seem like they're treating you online, because really they don't realize what they're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. You guys were awesome. Take a deep breath and relax a little bit. You'll come back and join us. We'll do another show. Does that sound okay?
Of course.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some more issues and stuff. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tracey Moynihan-Rosa, and I want to thank our panel once again. They were awesome. It took a lot of courage to come up here and talk about some of the issues that are facing teens today. We talked about peer pressure. We talked about gossiping. We talked about marijuana, growing up too fast, and we also talked about cyberbullying. It's a different world, ladies and gentlemen. We are not throwing punches in the hall. We are emotionally damaging children on Facebook and by tweeting, and these are the battles that they're facing. They're telling us to listen. And we need to. And we're going to listen more. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Thanks.